Hello, my name is Kendra, and tonight we're going to learn about the Australian Emu War of 1932.
Fuck yeah.
Emus, they're native to Australia. And as you know, like everything in Australia is pretty much capable of killing you. Emu, no exception. They look like ostriches, they're really tall, and they're flightless, and they have long, long necks and floofy feathers. They stand to be like 5 to 6 feet tall, weigh 120 pounds ish. They can run up to 40 miles per hour, and a single stride is like 9 feet. Crazy. So emus had been a protected native species up until 1922. In 1922, the people decided these emus are just too much of a nuisance, and they were reclassified as vermin. So that brings us to the topic at hand, the Emu War. After World War I, the Australian government had all these soldiers come back and didn't have jobs for them. So they're like, ooh, what do we do? They gave them a bunch of barren land in the western part of Australia. And they also gave them some money, like subsidies, and they said, grow wheat, and some of you can maybe raise sheep, but mostly grow wheat. There were 5,000 of these soldiers turned farmers. Now, being a farmer on good land is already hard enough, but these are like new farmers on barren land. Hell of a tough job. But they started to make it work. They were figuring it out. They started to grow some wheat. Woohoo, cool. But then they had this other foe. There were 20,000 emus.
Yeah. What?
20,000 emus started attacking all of their crops. And these emus, they're really tough. They would just knock down the fences, if the farmers even had fences. And these emus were just eating all the crops. They were just completely decimating it. So these former soldiers turned farmers, they're like, okay, try to shoot them, get rid of them, whatever, but they didn't stand a chance against 20,000 of these things. Oh, so they turned to the Australian military, and they were like, military, we need help. And the defense minister, George Pierce, he agreed to send over a couple of soldiers. So this could have just been a propaganda exercise to just show that the government still cared about the soldiers. I'm sorry, not fallen. They're alive. To show that the government still cared about their war heroes. This guy. And also, they probably figured this was going to be an easy fight. They are just going against some flightless birds and just shoot them and then come home with some emu feathers in your hat. So a couple of soldiers showed up with machine guns and 10,000 rounds of ammunition. On November 2nd, 1932, a small group of soldiers, they got all cocky, and they went to attack a group of 50 emus. It didn't go well. So the soldiers completely underestimated their opponents. They tried to shoot them. They tried to shoot them, but these emus, they took off running. They didn't get any. Total defeat for the soldiers. Game on. Day 2 of the assault. The soldiers, they were like, we're smarter than these birds. So they staged an ambush. They lied in wait, just near a dam, waiting for the emus to get close enough. About 1,000 emus got close, at which point they were at point blank range, and the soldiers fired hundreds and hundreds of bullets into them. Less than a dozen emus went down out of hundreds and hundreds of bullets. So the soldier describing the opponent's tactics, he's like, okay, here's how they work. There's a mob of emus, and they go into the fields or wherever they are. And there's always one emu that's watching over everyone and everything. And when he detects any disturbance, he alerts them all, and they take off running. They all disperse, and he stands watch until everyone is safe, and then he runs off too. And then they reconvene and move on to the next field.
That's a true leader right there.
Right? So following that ambush attack that did not go so well, the Army's like, okay, we've learned something. They didn't learn anything. They took a machine gun into the bed of a truck, and they're like, we're going to drive this truck along emus and shoot them. Cool. Well, number one, they're trying to drive as fast as an emu, and these guys can't even hold the gun in the bed of the truck because they can barely hold on. They're just like ready to fall out of the truck. And also, the emus disperse, so they can only chase after one at a time. When you're dealing with 20,000 emus, probably not your best tactic, but that's what they went for. So obviously it was not successful. They did hit an emu with the truck, might have been unintentional, we're not sure.
So count it.
But that emu, he went down with a fight though, because his dead corpse got tangled up in the vehicle's steering mechanism, and it actually caused the vehicle to veer off course and take down an entire fence. And upon later investigation of that emu corpse, they found 5 bullets lodged in its body. So 5 bullets didn't kill it. Being hit by a speeding truck did. By November 8th, the Army had used 25% of their allotted ammunition, but they had only killed between 50 and 200 emus. On November 13th, they had another campaign to kill the emus. They only got about 40 of them. And a month later, it was reported that every week they were taking down 100 emus. However, it took 10 bullets for every 1 emu. Really pathetic. The emus had proved that they were way smarter and faster than these people. And the government was like, this is embarrassing. Soldiers, come on back. Good luck, farmers. And the farmers were like, no, please, we still need help. And they're like, no, the emus won the war. Sorry, we're pulling out. That's it. But here's some bullets and good luck. So the farmers did. They tried to hold their own without the military. And they did okay. But really, what eventually ended the war was that the crops were harvested, so the food ran out. So the emus just left, just moved on. They went elsewhere.
So Australia Army actually lost the war to emus, though.
Yes. To be clear, the Australian Army, an army of like 3 people, but the Australian Army
Still counts.
lost to a herd of emus. Fast forward to today. Today, the emu is featured on the Australian coat of arms alongside a kangaroo. But the more important part of this is that now their protected animal status has been reinstated. So that means the emus not only won the battle, but they also won the war.
Emu!
Phone drop. Hello. My name is Rachel Russo. And tonight, we will be discussing, Goldfish Gulping of 1939. The scene, March 3rd, 1939. Harvard University. Harvard University freshman Lothrop Willington Jr. In his bid for class president, he took a $10 bet that he couldn't eat a live goldfish. Pure publicity stunt. He practiced for days eating baby goldfish and tadpoles. Leading up to the event, he invited a bunch of Boston journalists and the entire student body to witness it, where the events played out dramatically. He stood high above all of the student body and reporters and suspending his wriggling 3-inch goldfish, scales gleaming in the light, where everybody could see above his face.
3 inches. Trust me.
Plopped it down into his mouth, chewed it, swallowed, and said, The scales, he remarked, caught a bit in my throat as it went down. Catapulted to collegiate fame in $10 richer, Lothrop went on to lose the election that he set this entire thing up for.
Wow.
But he gained so much more. This stunt kicked off a fad now referred to as Goldfish Gulping that united rapidly across college campuses in America throughout the late 1930s. So it started off with a competition between universities on the East Coast, like Harvard, Yale, and other schools.
Oh, she did it.
Free.
Nope.
It soon took off across the country, popping up in places like University of Michigan and New Mexico State, among others. This wasn't just a phenomenon among men, though, like a pissing contest. There was this woman named Marie Henson from the University of Missouri School of Journalism. She became the first woman widely known to partake in the phenomenon. She swallowed, I think, 3 and kicked off women participating, so it isn't just like a fraternity thing. How the fuck did people eat goldfish? Well, some gulpers paired their scaly little victims with chasers or condiments. While one student doused his fish with salt and pepper for ingesting it, another accomplished his feat with the aid of 3 bottles of milk. Our fish war founder, Lothrop, was said to have actually chewed his fish and then chased it with mashed potatoes.
Oh, no.
Oh.
The record for number of goldfish gulped in one sitting is very highly contested. To this day, some say the University of Pennsylvania holds a record with 25 goldfish. Others say MIT holds a record with 42. Others say that a student at Clark University, a very obscure university, ate 89 in one sitting. And there's like these other sources that say at an undisclosed college that someone ate 101 goldfish in one sitting. Now, it didn't take long for adults to be like, hey, this is kind of fucked up. Probably shouldn't be doing this. College administrators found one student's conduct unbecoming and suspended him. Administrators at the California Institute of Technology called off one student's attempt at setting a record after a group of animal rights activists voiced opposition. And animal rights supporters in Boston threatened to sue Boston College officials themselves if they didn't stop it, and they tried to intervene. Wow. Doctors also weighed in on the physical dangers of eating live fish, like, hey, you might get tapeworms. Hey, this is not good for you. Hey, anemia, whatever.
You turn gold.
You turn gold. So any interference with college administrators, medical professionals, the government could not put a stop to it. They just kept doing it until it died off, which happens with most fads. But this was like the first recorded instance of like a college fad, where like it kicked off a competition between colleges. After this happened, the 1930s, they tried to do a record of like eating phonograph records, like literal pieces of like tape, until someone died.
And they're like, nope.
So they were like, yeah, that's dumb. But then you get to the 1950s, there was a fad where they stuff a bunch of people into a phone box and see how many people you can get into one. And then you got to the 1970s, and that's when the streaking started.
To the quad.
So this was like basically the like foundation of interscholastic
Frat life?
Yeah, it's frat life. An interesting thing, Goldfish Gulping did become a part of a huge museum exhibit for the year. It was a defining moment of that year culturally. It was appropriate for a year that was plagued by economic hardship and widespread uncertainty because they were leading into another world war. So a lot of like historians and anthropologists, they think that it's great. Like it was a distraction from the times that they were living in. So now, 2020, here we are, global pandemic. But instead of goldfish gulping, let's raise our glass to distractions.
Tito's tasting.
Tito tasting.
Alcohol is a hell of a drug.
My top 4.